Hey guys, Ghosts here. So this is going to be a demo game of my submission for the latest game jam called I'm Going Down. This is a solitaire survival and adventure game that you play with print and play components. This is the primary component here, the game board, which also includes a map. So I'm going to apologize in advance. I've tried doing this twice now. It's never quite worked out because of timing or I get interrupted. So the sun's going down as I'm recording this, and this is probably the brightest spot in my house to record this. So if the quality gets a little shitty, well, I'm not doing it again. So this is everything that you need to play. We've got a bunch of tokens over here. So these are general purpose tokens. Now you'll notice that there's ones with the same number, but one's dark and one's light. That means that you can pair them up by placing the light one and the dark one on something, just as a reminder or to pair a location on the map with a card. Then we've got the enemy tokens featuring my disgusting artwork. And then these little things in the funny shape, those are flags that you put underneath an enemy token to signify what level of awareness they're at, which changes their behavior. Because it's a solitaire game, a lot of things are run by tables and states. So if you're not familiar with solitaire gaming, this will look a little bit strange to you. Then we've got a status area over here on the board next to the sequence of play. So we got to keep track of the time of day. It only really matters when it's nighttime, but nighttime makes you harder to see, it makes skills harder to use. The enemies don't act as much because they don't have night vision, so they get kind of sloppy. And it also means that you've been shot down for longer, so you need food. And then we've got the weather check. It can be clear, it can be rainy, or it can be stormy. Rain and storm both make things more difficult for the pilot in some senses, but in others it's good. It makes you harder to find. And then we've got a injury track, so that obviously records the pilot's physical injuries and damage that he takes mostly from getting shot at, but other things happen to him too, like you can get mauled by wildlife, you can fall down a cliff, that kind of stuff. And then there's a morale track, so that represents the pilot's level of illness or exposure as well as his mental state. So when the morale track gets really low, it starts to debuff your abilities. You subtract things from your die rolls, or you get less action points. Normally you get 3 per turn, but if it gets low enough you only get 1 per turn, at which point the pilot's pretty much given up. And then we've got this inventory here, which is a 3x3 grid, so I use the Tetris or Resident Evil 4 style inventory. So items occupy a certain number of blocks. You can configure them however you want in the inventory, but you can't go over that. And then this is not magic cards. This is an event deck. So when all kinds of things happen, you flip these cards over, and the event deck is made by seeding it or weaving it in a certain pattern. So at the beginning of the game, you build a bunch of little stacks of cards and shuffle them that contain specific types of cards. So it'll contain like 1 experience, 1 enemy encounter, etc. You'll see as the game progresses. So there's some level of consistency inside that block. And then what you're going to draw in that block of 5 cards is random. So you kind of have some idea what's coming up. And then this on my tablet here is the quick reference sheet because I didn't bother printing it out. I'm really sensitive to wasting paper despite this being a print and play game. Yes, I'm aware of the irony. But there's been so many changes to this that it felt like it would be a waste to bother printing it out. So I'm just going to have it on the tablet. You won't see it while I'm playing. So with this print and play map here, you can generally get 3 or 4 games out of it before you have to print a new one, depending on how hard you write on it. I can normally play 4 or 5 times, but I kind of have a neurosis about wasting paper, so I'm pretty careful about that. Draw lightly on it, but for the purpose of this game, I'll be drawing pretty heavy. So I think the easiest way to see what's going on with this game beyond this is to just actually start. So I'm going to hang the camera up here, and then I'm just going to play a full game. Alright, so at the beginning of the game, your pilot is at this smoldering wreckage here. This is his crash site. And then enemy type locals is spawned in a random direction using this little thing here, 4 spaces away. So we'll set him up. So 4 spaces away in that direction. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So the locals are here. So they know that the aircraft has been shot down and I'm probably there. And we signify that by drawing a point of interest on the board. I don't know how clearly this will be legible, but it'll say POI 5. So that's a point of interest. Anything within 5 spaces of that will be attracted to it and move towards it. The locals are represented by this token, so these are guys that just live here and are kind of a militia that are out to lynch you. And then the little thing underneath it, I don't know how clearly that'll be visible, is a 3. That's his level of awareness. 3 is lookout. So they know something's happening, they're going to go and investigate it. The higher numbers signify more aggression or awareness of your location, and a higher likelihood that they'll actually be able to find you. The locals aren't the most dangerous enemy, but they've got a good number of hit points, so it's hard to tackle them directly. And in general, your pilot isn't a great combatant. So you generally profit from avoiding the enemy, at least until maybe you can find some weapons to fight back. But in general, it's probably best to avoid them. You do get points for each one that you get rid of at the end of the game if you survive. So my objective here at this point is to evade the enemy, keep from getting captured or killed, survive the elements, and scattered around this map, there are search and rescue beacons that I need to find. There were components of my aircraft that were destroyed in the attack that shot it down. So I need to find those and then activate the beacon and then wait for friendly forces to come and pick me up. Right now I have none of them. There's 3 that you have to find to activate the beacon, and there's 4 inside the deck total. So if you find one and it's a location that you consider a write-off, you can keep going, but you only got 4 chances total. So right now the board is empty. My pilot isn't aware of his surroundings, and that's why these spaces have nothing in them. You can survey them or move into them to discover what kind of terrain it is, and then that usually results in revealing a random play card as well. There's events in there like, well, you'll see as the game advances. So at the beginning of the play sequence here, fast enemies act. The locals are slow, so they don't do anything. So next, it's my pilot's activity. I have 3 action points every turn until I start getting debuffed because of low morale. So at the beginning of the game, I want to loot my shot down attack aircraft, and that's a skill check. I roll 2d6, and then compare that to the skill check value, which is always 6 for the scrounge action. But if I get over 6, I might find different things on the scrounge table. Now, a note about the dice. So I've got the 2 different colors. That's because a lot of the time in this game, you roll 2d6, and then depending on what you get, you also refer to another table that has a 1d6 result, or this random direction thing. To save time, because in solitaire games, obviously there's no opponent to create dynamic friction that you're playing against, so you rely on randomness, so there's a lot of tables and dice rolling. To mitigate that to some degree, just to save myself time, I use 2 dice of different colors. So if I'm rolling 2 dice and I need an immediate 1d6 roll after, the black die I usually don't use, the white die will represent the 1d6 roll. Just grabbing a drink. So if I roll the 2d6 and then I need a d6, I'll have a look at what the white die is and take that as the value for the subsequent d6 roll. I know it's not totally random, but it's close enough it saves time, so fuck off, nerds. So I'm going to make a roll here to try to scrounge. I need 6 or higher. A higher result gives me more options. And because the beginning of the game, it's important to try to get your shit together early, I'm going to spend a morale to exert myself a little bit harder and add +2 to this roll. So here we go. Okay, that's pretty good. 12. Can't get much better than that total. And then have a look at my scrounging table here. So the crash site type, this is unique. It's the only one that's going to appear during the entire game. I can grab whatever I want. I can get a survival kit and a knife, a pistol and a first aid kit, or a carbine and a poncho. So I'm going to grab the carbine, because that's actually a pretty good weapon. And that's a 3x1 weapon, so it occupies a full row in my inventory. I could also put it vertical, but I'm going to put it like that. And then the poncho. And the poncho is a 2x1. Now, unfortunately, that takes up a lot of my space already, and I don't have any food. But the poncho is important because if you move during inclement weather, you lose morale. So having that makes a huge difference. And the carbine makes it so that I might actually be able to fight off some types of enemies, like the sentries, because they have less hit points than the mob of locals. Anyway. So that was one action. I've got 2 left. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try to survey one of these surrounding spaces. Now I know I want to get away from the locals, so I'm going to survey this one here. And what survey does, if I succeed, is allows me to fill in what type of terrain that is, and then the random event that's probably linked to it, or if there's an enemy in there. So I know it's in there before I rush into it. Each one of these hexes represents a fair amount of real estate. So if you just move into there, you can, and it'll reveal it, but you won't be able to plan beforehand. So if it's a wetland or something like that, you can kind of end up stuck because they're harder to leave and there might be enemies in there that you didn't see before you moved in. So I'm going to try to survey. Similar thing, I need a 6 or higher, and a higher result can give me extra spaces to reveal. For every 2 that I'm over a value of 6, I can reveal an additional adjacent space that my pilot can see. My pilot's right here. So here we go. I'm going to try to reveal this space here. Oh, important point, the blank hexes block line of sight. 4, okay, I done fucked up. So I don't get anything. I'm just going to do it again. If I thought it was a good idea once, it was probably a good idea. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so I got a 6. So I get to reveal what this is. I use the 3 on the terrain table. So this is a road. Now I'm glad that I revealed that early because the pilot's easy to spot and when he's in the open space that's represented by the road. And then I get an experience. So when you reveal a new space with survey, the first one you reveal, you flip over one of these cards. Experience, that's a rare one that benefits you. So I get to keep that. And I'm done. I've spent all my action points. So then I draw a card if it was tilted. The tilted card is kind of a pressure mechanic that makes it so that you have to reveal a space every one of your pilot activity phases. If you don't, it just happens regardless. If this deck is empty, the game's over. You've taken too long to activate the beacons. And a lot of the time when this flips over, if you have no control over what's going to be revealed and when you're going to have the encounter happen, a lot of these are encounters with enemies, wildlife, that kind of stuff, it can really fuck you up. So it's better to do it with your own initiative. Anyway, so slow enemies act. The locals are at awareness level 3. So this lets you refer to a chart that tells you what kind of behavior they're going to follow. And the behaviors are listed in a sequential order. So you execute the first action that they meet the criteria to perform. In this case, they're going to move towards this point of interest. So they're going to do that twice because there's going to be no other variables there. Then I tilt the top card of the deck. And if that card isn't off the deck by the time I get to the draw tilted card phase, this is the one that's the pressure mechanic that gets revealed regardless of what I'm doing. Anyway, so I'm done with the slow enemies. Tilt the top card. Advanced times. Now it's late in the day. I'm moving towards nighttime. And I do a weather check. So I roll a d6. And then 1 through 5 is clear. 6 to 7 is rain. 8 plus is storm. 5. Okay, so it's clear. And I add the weather die at value 1. So the weather die is a modifier die for your weather rolls, which lets you get into the inclement weather. So every time that it rains, you take 1 off this die. Every time it storms, you take 2 off. So the longer it is between rain or storm, the longer you are, more likely you are to have it occur. And that's the end of the first round there. So fast enemies act. There's no fast enemies. So it's my activity. Now I'm standing here. These guys are going to reach me on the next turn, which would not be great. I don't want them. Once they find you, it's much harder to lose them. But I don't want to waste all my time surveying either. But I think I'm going to have to. So I'm going to try to survey this space here. So again, I need a 6 or higher. And I got a 6 exactly on a 3. So that means that it's another road. I don't like that. And I reveal. Oh, there's beacon parts there. Okay, so SAR beacon parts. This is a location. So it goes up here. There's these little arrows. I don't know how clearly those will be visible, but it's at location index 1. So I draw a 1 here to know that this is correlated to location index 1. So right here, there's bits of my SAR beacon, so I need to go and scrounge those and pick them up so that I can eventually summon my friends. But now this creates an issue with my AP management. I've spent 1 surveying this spot. I can move there and pick it up, but then when the enemies move here, they're going to be able to see me. And once I'm seen, it's a lot harder to lose them. So I think I'm just going to have to forsake that beacon and hope. You know what? Actually, at this point, yeah, I'm kind of screwed either way. What I can do is move into this space and reveal it, and I'll have no idea what it is. So it's a blind move, which is treacherous. But it might be something that blocks line of sight, and then I can move again and hopefully escape their line of sight. I'm not in a great spot here. The other thing I could do is actually attack them with my carbine once they move into range and try to kill them, which isn't the worst idea in the world. The carbine is a good weapon, but the pilot's not a great combatant. So you generally end up burning a lot of morale to boost your rolls in combat. So I'm just going to move, because I haven't moved yet. I should probably demonstrate that. So how movement works is you actually draw a line on the map, and at the end of the line, that's where your pilot always is. Sometimes I draw a little arrow to indicate which direction that you follow the line in if it gets confusing, if I'm doubling back a lot, but normally you don't have to. And depending on the type of movement that you do, you draw a different line. So a stealth move is dotted, and that makes it harder for the enemies to track you, because even if they can't see you, they'll look for your trail and try to follow you. And if you do a really fast move, you use an X. Actually, you know what? I think I'm going to use that, because that lets me move twice, basically. So no, because I got to pick that beacon up. So yeah, so I'm going to do a normal move, then I'm standing in the middle of nowhere like a jackass. Yeah, I'm going to have to forget the beacon, and I'm going to do a fast move here. And I'm going to move into the unknown. This is a really risky way to start a game. This is not smart. So the fast move, I'm using these X's to signify I'm easy to track, and that only costs me 1 action point to move both of those. Okay, so the event is a poisonous snake. I can spend 1 action. Oh, I got to reveal what kind of terrain I'm in here. 5. 5 is hills. Okay, so on hills, On roads, I'm easier to spot. On hills, I have an easier time scouting. Each space, other than open, which is totally neutral, has some kind of modifier to something in the game, but only one thing. So the poisonous snake, I can spend 1 action point or roll a detection check at +5. If I spend the action point, I add the poisonous snake to my inventory. Oh, and I can use it like a landmine. Oh, okay, so obviously I played a lot of Metal Gear 3. So I might want to take the snake, actually. And if the detection check fails, if I don't spend the action point and just risk the detection check, if I don't spot the snake, it attacks me and I get injured. Huh, interesting. Could be if... I think I'm gonna... No, I've got the experience, so I can always re-roll, but I'd rather save that for the morale boost. On the other hand, I do want a snake. I'm gonna take the snake. So, I spent 1 action point on the survey, and I spent 1 to do this reckless move, and now I'm spending 1 to add this snake to my inventory, which is getting very full. So I'm going to stash this here, and then I'm going to put one of these matching tokens on the snake, and yeah, I'll keep this one until I deploy it into play. And that's it. I've used 3 actions. So then I would draw this tilted card, but there's none tilted. The slow enemies act. So the locals move here. Now things have changed, because now they have line of sight to the pilot. The crash site doesn't block line of sight. Oh, actually, no, they won't, because this space does. You draw lines of sight from center to center. So that's what these little dots are for. Yeah, he'll cross this space, so he still can't see me, so then he'll just move again to the point of interest. And that's it, he's done. And now it's nighttime. That's good, because it'll make me harder to spot as I move. I gotta tilt the top card of the deck. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself here. So tilt top card of the deck, advance time to nighttime. At nighttime, you always lose 1 morale. You're just starting to get hungry, tired, etc. And at nighttime, there's a -2 to all skill checks, including the enemies trying to spot you, which is great. I can escape under the cover of darkness. I do want that beacon, but I'm going to have to come back for that later. And then I make a weather check. The other thing is these guys are only going to take 1 action on their activation, because at nighttime they don't have night vision, so they're kind of shite. Okay, 2 + 1 is 3, so it's still clear. I crank up the weather die by 1, and then I go back to fast enemies and pilot activity. So my actions are debuffed. All my rolls are -2 right now, which is not great. And I'm really easy to track in the position I'm in. So I'm tempted to just drop the poisonous snake in the hills here and then move past and hope that these guys run into the snake. But I might want to hold on to this. I don't have much space in my inventory either. So, okay, so I'm on the hills. That adds +2 to my survey. So that evens things out with the nighttime penalty. So I'm going to try to survey this space here. Well, I fucked that up pretty badly. I didn't get nothing. Let's do it again. I hate wasting action points like that, but oh my goodness, it's okay. So it's not meant to be. I want to get away from these guys before the sun comes up, because right now they're penalized to spot me, and I'll lose that penalty. So I think I'm just gonna make the blind move. Yeah, I'm gonna. Oh, I screwed myself. It costs 2 action points to move out of the hills. It's more difficult. I can push myself and spend a morale. I'm gonna do that. That'll add 1 movement point to a normal move action. So I'll do that. It costs me a morale, which debuffs all my rolls going forward. And I'm risking moving into a totally unknown type of territory here. 3. Oh, it's a road again. Jesus. I really don't like the roads. You're easy to spot there. And then alert. Okay, that's not that bad. For each one of these, when you make an enemy contact check, you add to the roll, and you add to the rolls to spawn enemy soldiers. So as the game goes on, you get more alerts. Not only are you more likely to run into the enemy, but it's also more dangerous types of enemies. So those were all my actions. There's no tilted card. The slow enemies act. It's nighttime. These guys are still at lookout, and they're on a space with a point of interest. So that changes what they're going to do. They don't have line of sight to me anymore because the hills block it. The wreckage doesn't, and the road doesn't, but the hills do. So they're in a hex with a point of interest. Remove the point of interest. Okay, so they're searching it and radioing to their friends what they find. They're looking around my crash site here. And then they perform a search action. If I'm in the LOS, which I'm not, they upgrade to the combat level awareness. If the trail's in space, they upgrade to searching. And if they fail, they just move in a random direction. So the locals have a detection skill of 7, -2, because they're looking around this crash site in the dark and it's not burning much, I guess, anymore. They got to roll a 9, which they did not. So they're going to move in a random direction. 3, so they just double back where they came from because they're morons. That worked out all right. And they only take 1 action because it's nighttime. So I tilt this top card, advance time, so the sun comes up, the nighttime debuff is gone. Make a weather check. Okay, so I'm really building up towards a storm here. And then it's my action again. Now I'm getting pretty tired. And unfortunately the road counts as an urban space, which means I won't find food if I scrounge. I probably should have scrounged in the hills. That was kind of stupid of me. Now I can burn this to recover 2 morale, which I don't hate the idea of doing. Yeah, let's just do that. So this goes to my discard, and my morale goes up by 2 up to 4. That's unfortunate because you like to save those for the clutch rerolls, but you can't have it all. So I'm in this space here. I'm going to try to survey. I got to loop back around to this. Let's survey here. So I need a 6 or better. Okay, I just barely got it. And a 2 are buildings. Okay, so I can scrounge more easily in buildings to find equipment. And the event, oh, interesting, the Allied Airman. So I put him there as a token. So how this card works, just as a general summary, there's quite a bit of rules text there, is this guy is like an item that I can pick up. He's one of my friends that was also shot down the same air raid as I was conducting. Now he takes up 3 by 2 in my inventory, which is a lot. Oh boy. And when I'm carrying him, all my move actions cost an additional AP. So I can pick him up, carry him, and he's the only item in the game that you can drop and keep the location of. So I can move him around, because if the enemy enters a space with him, they'll kill him. And then I get a huge penalty to my final score. But if I have this guy in my inventory at the end, I get a massive bonus. If he's alive when I get rescued, but I'm not carrying him around, I get an okay bonus. Interesting. Well, so that's where he is. So I'm going to use this white token to tether these two together. General token 2 is the Allied Airman. And he's in those buildings. I'm feeling pretty good about how far away I am from these guys right now, but I also know that soon I'm going to draw an enemy contact. I've got 2 action points left, so I'm going to make a stealth move into these buildings. So I'll draw a dotted line. This costs 2 action points. But I'm harder to track, so I'm hoping that they won't find this guy, and I'm going to try to move him around a little bit. And that was it. 2 action points for the stealth move, and then 1 for the survey. So I'm done. No tilted card, the slow enemies act. So these guys are at lookout. There's no longer point of interest. They investigated that spot, and they determined that they were satisfied there was nothing there. So they're in space with no trail. They perform a search check, and if they succeed, they move towards the nearest, newest trail, which would be right there. And they need to roll a 7. Okay, that's 9. So they move in there, and now they're in the space with a trail. So they're going to make a search. A tracking move. And if they succeed, they follow the trail, so they'll move to there. If they fail, they move randomly. Now, because it's this trail with the X through it, it's much easier to follow, so they get +3. The locals track at +8, so they only need a 5 to track me here, which they easily got. So they bop up to there, tilt the top card, advance time, weather check. I don't think this is going to go well for me. Oh boy, nope. Okay, so I jump straight to storm. So I'm not fucking around with any of this rain. So storm, what that does is it reduces the weather die by 2. I immediately lose a morale as a result of the exposure to the extreme elements. And if I move, I would lose 1 morale normally during a storm, but because I have the poncho, I'm protected. And this also imposes a -2 to all skill checks, kind of like when it's nighttime. That applies to the enemy as well, but they're not slowed down by the storm like they are by night. So it's not terrible for me. It's going to make my survey rolls difficult, though. So there's fast enemies would act now. There's no fast enemies, so it's my turn. I still don't have a single beacon. Yeah, shit. I really wish I would have dropped the snake there to keep these guys away from... Because if they move into the space with the Allied Airman, they just execute him and I get this giant penalty. Yeah, I gotta try to lead them away from him because I don't have the inventory space to pick him up. I can't keep my poncho and my snake both if I do that. I'm gonna ditch the carbine because I don't plan on fighting, but who knows what's gonna happen. Alright, so first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to scrounge in these builds. Actually, is there anything valuable I can find in there? So what I'm doing now is I'm consulting the scrounging table for an urban space with buildings, bandages and knife, poncho and map, radio and map. Well, radio is pretty good, and night vision goggles. I'm probably not going to get the night vision goggles because of the penalty right now from the rain. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to fuck with any of this. Hopefully that throws them off the trail, and I'm just going to move away. I'm going to risk an open move here. So I'm going to perform a standard move into this hex. I rolled a 6, waterway. So that means I blindly run out of these buildings into a swamp, basically. And then I reveal this card. So this says no event, but what this actually means is enemy contact. These are placeholder cards, obviously. So I'm going to make an enemy contact roll here. This is trouble. So there might be a bad guy in this space. So how an enemy contact roll works is you add every alert card that you have, you add +1, and then you add the distance from the farthest enemy. Or sorry, the closest enemy. So 1, 2, 3, +1 for +4, and if I roll, the result is 10 or higher, I place an enemy here. This is where I wish I had my experience card still. Nope. So I'm going to place an enemy. So I roll 2d6 and then consult the enemy table. And I add +3 for every one of these alert cards. So it's a 10, which means a sentry. And he gets placed. He would normally be at alert level 1, which is like he's a moron, he's not looking for anything. But for every level of alert, you increase that by 1. So he's at level 2, which puts him at unaware. So he doesn't really know there's much going on. He's just out looking around as normal. Now, because he doesn't know about me being there, I would get an attack bonus, but when I'm moving here, the first thing that you do in the sequence is flip this card and resolve the effects and determine what kind of terrain it is. So there's this sentry standing around in this bog, and anytime that you move and the enemy has line of sight to you, they get to roll a spot check. And if they discover you, it upgrades their level of awareness to combat. They generally start shooting at you. So I've got to make a roll for this sentry. His detection skill is 6+, and he's -2 because of the weather. So if I roll an 8 or higher here, he's spotted me, which is not great. Awesome. So he's found me. So that upgrades his level of alertness to combat. And because he has a radio, he upgrades these guys as well. So this guy's equipment and shit is all listed in the enemy types table. So these guys go up to a 4, which will make them a little more aggressive. And as long as an enemy has line of sight to you in the combat state, your location is a point of interest. So basically everyone's going to run straight towards you until you break that line of sight, at which point the last spot that an enemy could see becomes your last known location, and that's the point of interest from which they'll pursue you. So I moved here. That was only one action point, and then this guy discovered me. I might just try to grease him using the poncho. Sorry, the poncho. I'll choke him to death with the poncho. That'd actually be pretty awesome. Now I'm going to use this carbine, I think. So on a 6+, I'll kill him. I'd need an 8 because of the weather penalty. Getting into a shootout in a bog. The issue is leaving the bog, I need to spend additional AP. It's kind of like the mountain. So, it's going to take these guys a little while to get to me. I could kill this guy and then run away. I'm going to have to try for it. Now, I'm tempted to spend a morale to push my roll by +2. The problem is, next turn it's still going to storm. I don't make a weather check because as long as the weather is in the storm thing and there is a weather die with any value, the storm continues. So if I spend that, next turn my pilot's going to be really sickly and exhausted from exposure. On the other hand, I would just like to deal with this guy. Oh, it'll be nighttime too. It'll increase my chance to slip away. Fuck it, all in. So I'm going to shoot this guy. So normally I would need an 8, but I only need a 6 and +2. Now, when you're in this position, you're -1 to skill checks, but this is checked at the beginning of your turn, so it doesn't apply right now. So I'm going to shoot this guy on a 6+, and really hope this pans out, because he only has 1 hit point. Okay, just barely. Wow, there's been a lot of rolls like that. So I inflict 1 damage to him. I'm just going to put a token on him to signify that he's taken 1 damage. He only has 1 hit point. So he's down. He's not going to be a problem anymore. I can take this away. But my shooting also creates a point of interest. Now this is going to be the last known location. That's like a super point of interest, so I don't need to add another point of interest. The last known location is always the highest value point of interest, so they're going to come towards that no matter what. So I killed him, that took 1 action point, and now, I've still got 1 left. So I can loot him and take one of the items that he has. He has a rifle, a radio, and a map. The radio is pretty handy. It'll fill my inventory completely, though. Fuck it. Yeah, I'll grab the radio. Oh no, it's only space 1. But that's my last action, was looting this guy's corpse face down in a bog. I'm a hero. So I'm done. I would draw a tilted card. I don't have to do that. Slow enemies act. So these guys are at awareness 4, which is searching. So they move towards the point of interest. And they still can't see it, so they're going to move it towards it again. Now these 2 spaces are equidistant to the point of interest, so we determine which one they move to randomly. These will be even, these will be odd. So he moves towards the odd space, and now he can see me, but he doesn't know where I am. So he's going to have to make a spot check to try to determine where I am before he can start shooting at me. He remains at that same level of awareness. And that's the end of slow enemies. Tilt the top card, advance time, so it's nighttime, I lose a morale. So my morale is ugh, this was a mistake. My morale's fucked. And then the storm continues, so I lose another morale. So I'm down to 1 AP. This is not good. If I lose another morale, I would take 2 away from the weather die, so it'll be clear. If I lose another morale, it starts taking away from my injury track. And I only have 1 AP, and everything I do with a skill check is -1 right now. So that's not good. I was very short-sighted. I was really bloodthirsty when I went after that sentry. That was really dumb. Well, I gotta do something now. So I've only got 1 AP, so I can rest and recover an action point. I don't have any food. Oh, this is dire. I think I'm gonna spend, so I can't leave this space. Well, I guess I can hurt myself. The issue is, so the wetlands require an extra movement point to exit. I only have 1 action point, and I have no morale. So I don't know why that's a 3. That should be 0. So if I use a normal move, which costs 1 action point, I can spend a morale, and then I'll just hurt myself to get out of that space. And unfortunately, the enemy even has line of sight of that space, so he could still discover me. It'll be unlikely, though, in the storm. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to have to double back here. Oh, I want to drop... I should drop the snake. The problem is, if they follow me there, they're going to find my allied airman and probably execute him. And I am in no shape to move him right now. Well, this is tough. But I'm going to have to make a blind... I'm going to have to make a blind to move away, I think. So, I take an injury, perform a normal move. Well, I looted this guy. So once you loot him, you can only loot him once. It's assumed the pilot's smart enough to hide the body, so I'm going to guess I just stomp it into the mud in the bog, and it goes to the discard, where I'll get some points for it at the end of the game, if I'm still alive. Roll to see what kind of terrain I just moved into. 3. Well, it's not a bog at least. That's good. It's a road. Fuck. So I'm going to be real easy to spot. Running beside the bayou. And then experience. Okay, that's good. Get something out of it at least. But I am hurting here. And I still have none of the beacons. So, draw the tilt card. There's no tilt card. So these guys act. So they're at searching. Oh, I moved in their line of sight. So they get to roll a spot check against me. So anytime that your pilot moves when the enemy has line of sight to you, and these guys do, because there's no type of terrain here that blocks their line of sight to the space I'm currently at or the one I'm moving into, they're going to make a spot check, which is just a detection roll. But unfortunately, they get to use whichever one of these 2 spaces is advantageous, and the road is advantageous. I'm easier to spot on the open space. So they're +2 to their roll. but they're -4 from the combination of night and the weather. So it comes out to a total of -2. So they've got to roll a 7+ to spot me, and +1 for searching. Okay. Oh, I don't care for that. So, again to recap, they're +2 for the road, +1 for their level of awareness, and then -4. So -1, which puts them at, they need an 8. That's a success. So they've spotted me. So as soon as I'm spotted, this upgrades to combat awareness. If there were enemies around, they would also upgrade because they shout at them to come fuck me up. And I get rid of the last known location I had recorded there because it's no longer valid. This is the new last known location. And then they'll take an action because there's no tilted card. That was my last AP, my only AP. So they're going to move because they can't attack me. So they move towards me, but they only move once because it's nighttime, so they're a little lost. They don't have night vision goggles. And that's it. I advance time again and make a weather check. 5, so it's clear. And then it's my activity phase. I still only have 1 action point. Oh, this is, I'm in a death spiral here. I made some significant misplays. I should have looked for some food earlier. I'm going to discard my experience and add 2 morale. So that's good. That puts me at only -1 on rolls. Yeah, I'll ditch this before my activity starts. So I'll have all my AP at least. I'm kind of tempted to just shoot out with these guys, but the carbine is pretty bad unless you're in the same space. Just running away is not a great idea. So I'm going to drop my snake here, my poisonous snake, for 1 AP. And then I think I'm going to make a blind move again. These are risky. I don't like doing these, but my prepubescent voice cracking here because I'm getting a little dry. Normally when I play this, I don't narrate everything, obviously. A normal game takes me about 20 minutes to play. So I'm going to move into this space here. Terrain type is a road. Oh my goodness. Apparently I'm just jogging through their highway here. I should have bombed the goddamn highway. And then let's see what the event is. Beacon parts. Okay, well that's at least beneficial to me. I've used 2 action points. I'm going to spend my last one. Oh, I moved in the... Yeah. I moved in the wrong direction. I should have moved this way, because this way they're not guaranteed to run through the snake space. I'm so fucking stupid. Anyway, so that goes on the location track. This is location number 2, not 1, like I drew like a brainlet. So there's a beacon part there. I am going to spend my last AP and pick that up, because I'm going to need it eventually. And that's it. I'm done. Tilt the scar. Oh, sorry. I would draw this if it was tilted, but it's not. So they're at combat level of awareness. They can see me because even though the buildings block line of sight and the road doesn't, again, when it comes to impairing line of sight, if you draw between... I can't remember if I explained this before. If you draw the line of sight between 2 hexes on the line between them, you use whichever one impairs the line of sight less. So the road impairs it less. It actually benefits them. So they can see me. But they can't shoot me, so they're going to move towards me in a random direction. So this will be even, and this will be odd. Hopefully they run into the snake. Even and odd. Fuck me. So they walk over to the buildings here. And now they can shoot at me. They can shoot me 1 space away. They're not a great shot, though. So on a 9+, they'll hit me. Oh, but they get a +2 because I'm out in the open. Awesome. Well, I just got shot. I'm bleeding all over the place. I dropped my stupid poisonous snake, and actually it gives me some space. Oh, this is bad. And now, anytime I move, when they can see me, they're going to get to shoot at me. So, it's late. We move into the late part of the day, tilt this card, and check the weather. Now, rain right now would not hurt me. To give them a debuff to hit me, but of course I don't get it now. Fuck. Oh, sorry, I shifted everything trying to keep things on camera here. These tokens are not the most elegant, I will say, but you get the idea. I mean, they're printed on the back of a Gunpla box, so. Alright, I've got one of my 2 beacons, so I can remove this because I picked that beacon part up. I should have spent that AP moving. And erase that from the board. Now what? I guess I could try to shoot it out with them, but that's not great. With the carbine, I'm going to need, I think, rolls of 10 to hit them. Yeah, because I'm -1 for my crappy morale. I think I'm just going to have to try to run away, create some distance. The problem is those are going to be blind moves again. Oh, and these are roads either way, so they're going to get a bonus to hit me. Fuck. Well, this might be a short game. I'm going to, yeah, make a blind move up here, and I'm going to use the fast move. So that would, and that puts the X there. It makes me easy to track, and I'll get to move another space after this as long as it's not difficult terrain. 1 open. Okay, great, so they can still see me. And an alert card, well, it's not good, but it's not bad right now. It's not like enemy contact. So I still have another move. Now, if I move here, I'm moving myself into a corner because my pilot doesn't want to go too far from the wreckage, or the SAR guys won't find him. So I'm just going to move over here with my second point of movement from the fast move. And I flip this again. Oh, okay, so this one is enemy contact. And I'm in the forest. Well, that's good. I'm harder to hit in the forest because my pilot can hide. So I'm going to make an enemy contact roll here. I'm adding 2 to the roll. And then distance from the nearest enemy, 1, 2, 3. So +5. And if I roll 10 or more, I spawn an enemy in this space. Ah! Well, we had a good run. Alright, so I roll 2d6 +6. There's 2 alert cards now. 14. Scouts. Oh, okay, so scouts are dangerous. They have a very easy time finding you, and they're not good at shooting you if you're not very close to them, but they're pretty good in close quarters combat. And they have night vision goggles, so they'll chase you even at night. And I'm now occupying the same forest of them. I guess they were looking for me, and I made it real easy. Man, I'm getting fucked up this game. I will say I've only won once, so it's challenging, which is good for a solitaire game, I suppose. In any case, so because I moved and revealed these guys, they get to make a spot check against me. The spot check is -2, because no, they'll spot me on the way in. So the scout's detection is 5+, so they need a 5+ to find me. That's probably not going to have a hard time with that. Nope. They rolled 7, so they know where I am. So they're at combat awareness. So now I'm going to be in a shootout with these scouts. Alright, suboptimal. Now I've only used 1 AP on the fast move here. I think I'm going to have to shoot it out with these scouts and try to kill them. So my carbine, I need to roll a 7 to hit them in the same space. I got 2 AP left. Now it's normally 6, but it's -1 because of my morale. Yeah, I'm just going to have to try to punk these guys. So let's see. I need 7 twice. Well, good start. Oh my goodness. It's not meant to be. This pilot wasn't praying enough or something. So I missed twice. Draw the tilted card. There's no tilted card. The slow enemies act. Now I'm getting a bit of a break here, sort of, because the scouts are fast as long as their level of awareness is 3 or higher. So they're not actually going to act this round. Instead, they're just going to fuck me up at the beginning of the next sequence. So the slow enemies act. My last known location is right here, right now. So these guys move directly towards it. And the AI prioritizes moving through discovered spaces. So they're going to be right there. Oh, I'm getting mobbed now. Tilt the top card, advance time. So it's nighttime. I lose morale. Oh, that's bad. Weather check. Okay, so it's raining. So I have the cover of darkness and the rain right now, which is good. But I'm not in a good position. All right. So the fast enemies act, that's the scouts. I'm in the same space as them. They're just going to shoot at me. Now the nighttime penalty doesn't apply to them because they have night vision goggles. So scouts normally need a 7 to hit somebody in the same space, but they're penalized by the forest. So how the enemy's combat works is it's based off their detection. Scouts' detection is 5+. When I'm in the forest, I get a +2 bonus that makes me harder to find. So their detection number goes up to 7, and the rain makes it 8. And they're just going to shoot at me twice. And unfortunately, if they hit me, I die. Okay, good, good. Hold it together. Ah, okay. So there's bullets streaking by me in this forest here. My pilot's ducking out of the way. He's coughing up a lung or something like that, but he's not dead. So that's good. Now, unfortunately, when I move, they're going to try to get to shoot at me. But I don't have a whole lot of other choices here because the firefight is not going in my favor. So it's my turn now. I'm -1 action point and -1 to all my rolls. I just got to run for it. So I'm going to use a hidden move. This costs 2 action points, so it's all I'm going to get to do. But it makes the enemies -2 to... now they don't need to make a spot check against me anyway. And the forest is probably actually the safest place for me right now because I'm harder to find, harder to shoot. I don't have anything in my inventory that's going to save me here. The radio, normally I can create a point of interest, but no point of interest is going to override last known location. Like I said, that's like a mega point of interest. So if I just try to run away, I think I'm just going to get crushed on weight of dice. I guess I can try to double tap this scout, but oh man, that's going to be sketchy. So I would need an 8 twice. Fuck. Well, I got to do something here for the sake of this video at least, because I'm sure my grunting isn't very entertaining. So I am gonna... yeah, I'm gonna run and use the fast move and run to there. So let's see what kind of terrain it is. Hope it's not a bog. No, it's open. Well, that's not great either. It's not as bad as a road. Like, it's like a meadow or something, but it doesn't give me a bonus. A forest would have been perfect. In any case, it's not. So as I still get to move another space with a fast move, but all these guys saw me move, so they all get to shoot at me. So they're not going to use the force. They get to shoot at the time that's optimal for them. They're not total morons. So the scout is going to shoot at me. Oh, actually, he might be better off shooting at me when I am in the forest. When I'm one space away, scouts need to roll an 8. In the forest, they need a 9. Yeah, so you're going to shoot at me in this space. So on an 8+, he hits me with his reaction fire as I run away. And he clips me, and I die. Well, that was a short game, but in any case, it should give you an idea of how the game works. It is hard. Like I said, I've only won a couple times. There's a lot of variance, right? But as a solitaire game, that's kind of the name of the game. There's a lot of rolling dice because there's no opponent to provide you active resistance. So you need a lot of randomization. There's a lot of different event cards. The Allied Airman is really interesting because at the time you find him, if you're not already behind the 8 ball, dragging him around, yeah, it gets you a lot of points when you finish the game, theoretically. But like I say, I've only actually been rescued once. In any case, so that's an outline of I'm Going Down. I think it played out pretty well. It's not perfect, but no game is going to be, I guess. And this is the first game I've really made of this type. I've never done the kind of write and roll game. So very interesting development experience. If you have any questions about how it's played or you want to check it out, you'll be able to find it. There will be a link in the low bar. And if you're watching this, you probably know how to get a hold of me anyway. Thanks for watching.